and I'm very keen to listen to your many aspects on these issues. Let me formulate my interest in a question. We heard a very interesting example how religious leaders and actually religion is part of the problem, not only in Europe or in America but also in Africa. And the question is then, how can we together, and I have to speak in a self-critical way on my part, make the religious leaders and the religious communities really a source of solving the problem? I think there are many indications of what you have said, but I could like to hear more, both how you hear how we are a problem, but also how can we become part of the solution.
Part of the problem, part of the solution. Comments, and then we'll go here. On that? I'm a faith leader, so I should probably say something. It's a difference in thumping your Bible or reading it. The Bible is very clear on how we treat the stranger, and Jesus is really a test of our faith. So it's, I often say, in the last election, white Christians were more white than Christian. So finally, it's a matter of what comes first. What comes first? And if we actually talk about what our traditions say about this how we treat the stranger is as central in our scriptures as anything is. How we treat the stranger, the other. So that's the foundation for all our traditions, Jewish, Muslim, Christian. So getting back to the tradition and how our cultures have captivated us, or we've been conformed to our cultures and not to tradition. So it's almost getting back to what we say we believe. You want to comment on that?
Yes, I do, because I come from a very religious country, and we like to say that we are a Christian nation. But I think the Christianity is very thin, and after 6 years of boarding school in a Christian boarding school, I have very strong views about Christianity, which I don't want to say. But I think the bigger part of it is the question you ask, what can we do? Is I think in the context of where I'm from in Kenya, the church is a highly politicized organ. Mm-hmm. The church pretends to be Christian. The church needs to because it's intolerant. I mean, it's whether it is gay rights. You're seeing the African church is moving out of all the structures because they're having more and more tolerance. There's a huge problem with the African church and understanding what Christianity is. What is the solution? I think we've got to find more African Christians who will be in the limelight. I think Archbishop Tutu, who you mentioned, is for us the epitome of an African Christian. He's tolerant. He's up there. There's no one following in his footsteps. I don't see any African Christian leader out there. But for us, again, in Kenya, is that the Christian movement has been seeing Islam as the problem. And they say it in the churches, they don't say it publicly, but that's how they define the problem. The Islam is growing, you've got to stop it. And so they stop it. To stop it, they become more and more intolerant and more fundamentalist.
Immigration has been one of the key issues Francis has focused on in the Vatican. Here's a question here.
Anita Fani.
And two over there.
The term damaged identity was used earlier. I'd like to know how you see the difference between damaged identity and loss of identity, and if there's a way that one can heal the identity or repair it.
Mm-hmm. Good question. Who'd like to speak to that?
For me?
Please. Simone.
Well, that's a difficult question, I think. A lost identity is nothing. If I've lost my identity, I have to find myself again completely. A damaged identity is difficult to heal. I think the way to heal it is to give people their dignity back, and through dignity they can recover their identity. And work can be part of that. Being part of a society can definitely be part of that.
Your thoughts? Identity?
Well, a damaged identity is an identity that has not been valorized and that has been pointed out from the entire society, that have been isolated, humiliated. So this is mainly what a big part of the first, second, third, and fourth generation of North African in Europe will feel.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to get to a few more questions here. Microphone over here. Yeah.
I'm Thomas Vorer from Switzerland, and I think what we missed is what you said before. What makes the relation? I think it's a question of number. In Switzerland, we have 20% foreigners, and they're getting more. And everybody says, oh, foreigners. In the US, you are losing the white majority pretty soon. What are you doing with that? That's a question.
Well, I was wondering whether to raise that, but now I will. The most important political fact about the United States that's underneath everything, underneath this election result, everything, is by 2040, we'll no longer be a white majority nation. For the first time, we'll be a majority of minorities. And older white Americans are having a hard time navigating that, what I call the bridge to a new America. So that's underneath everything. Our changing demographics are challenging all the old identities. But younger people really are embracing and often expecting. My kids now, their assumption, their expectation is diversity. That's their life experience. But this is the battle, and it was underneath this election. This election is because of a white backlash to that reality. By 2040, we're no longer a white majority nation. So that's going to be the big battle ahead for the U.S. Yeah, you're right on that. Please speak to that.
Look, this is a key question here, and this is part of the problem we face today. This is one of the basis of bias, discrimination, xenophobia, and racism right now. All of our institutions, governments, faith-based institutions, all of us, my institution, my organization, we've not done enough to explain factually what's happening in the world. We've got four major challenges. First one is demography. We have a global north in demographic deficit. There's a negative replacement rate. More people dying than being born, and those who remain are getting older, and the labor needs are widening. Europe alone is going to need tens of millions of workers at all skill levels by mid-century. Meantime, Africa's population, I've heard various estimates, it could be as much as doubling by mid-century. When I was ambassador to Nigeria, I was told it's a country of 100 million people. Today, I think this number is 160 million or something like that. And it's quite clear, and I think you said it well, we're all going to become, our country is going to become inexorably more multi-ethnic, multi-religious, multilinguistic, in every way. But if we don't have institutions that are doing public education, public information to explain this is about to happen, it's not necessarily bad, and this is our plan. Mm-hmm. And right now, I think one of the problems in Europe is there's a feeling that people have little confidence now in government's ability to manage migration. Mm-hmm. And I would leave you with the thought that migration is not an issue to be solved. It's a human reality that's been there since the beginning of time. It's not going away, and we have to learn to manage it. And you do that partly through education and information. The other challenge is, of course, to learn to manage diversity. We're not doing a good job of that. We need to learn to manage, to prevent disasters like we talked about. And I think if we deal with that, we can solve the problem. But this is the problem. You're right. We've lost control.
Okay, how about...
I just want to ask a question, and maybe it's a product of my background. Is it a problem if the U.S. becomes a majority-minority country? Is it a problem if Europe becomes majority non-white?
It's like becoming like the rest of the world. Becoming like the rest. And that's, in fact, what's going to really change this.
Can I also add that power and privilege at an institution level in the United States, regardless of how many minorities you have, is still very much white. So I don't know what the